I spent 15 years being the best father I could be to my daughter Melody, only to hear her say at her wedding, "My real dad is walking me down the aisle, not you." She was talking about Kenneth, the man my ex-wife Diane married 3 years ago. But what destroyed me wasn't her rejection at the altar. It was what I found in the unmarked package waiting at my doorstep when I got home. My name is Nathan Bridgewater, and I am 48 years old. For the past 15 years, I've been a single mother and father to my daughter Melody, who just turned 23 last month. I run a veterinary clinic here in our small Missouri town, the same one my father started 40 years ago. It is the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where people still bring casseroles when someone's sick, and where secrets have a way of coming out eventually. Melody is my only child, my whole world since the day she was born. Her mother, Diane, left us when Melody was just 8 years old. No warning, no explanation that made sense, just a note on the kitchen counter saying she needed to find herself, and that we'd be better off without her. She signed away her parental rights without a fight and disappeared. For 15 years, I was mother and father, friend and disciplinarian, protector and provider. Then 3 years ago, Diane came back into our lives with her new husband, Kenneth Rutherford. Kenneth is a partner in commercial real estate in Kansas City, the kind of man who wears $1,000 suits to casual dinners and drives around in a different luxury car for each day of the week. Suddenly, the mother who couldn't handle the responsibility of motherhood was playing a perfect parent with someone else's money. The morning of Melody's wedding was supposed to be the proudest day of my life. Instead, it became the day I learned that 15 years of love, sacrifice, and dedication could be erased by 3 years of expensive gifts and carefully planted lies. When Melody told me Kenneth would be walking her down the aisle instead of me, when she said he was her real father figure, now, something inside me shattered into pieces I thought would never fit back together. But that package on my doorstep, the one with my daughter's childhood diary inside, changed everything. The note she left said to read page 47 before I judged her, then read the last entry. What I found in those pages revealed a truth so twisted, a secret so devastating that it made me realize I never really knew what was happening in my own daughter's life. The girl I raised to be strong had been fighting a battle I knew nothing about, protecting me in ways I never imagined and sacrificing herself, because that is what I taught her love looked like, that she had to protect. This is the story of how I lost my daughter on her wedding day and found her again in the words she wrote when she thought I'd never understand. It is about the price of a father's love, the weight of a daughter's sacrifice, and the moment when you realize that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone hurt you to save themselves. The morning of Melody's wedding started like a dream come true. I stood in my bedroom at 5:30, unable to sleep from the excitement, trying on my rental tuxedo for the 3rd time. The steam from the iron rose in small clouds as I ironed out every possible wrinkle, determined to make the day perfect. My hands were steady, the hands of a veterinarian used to delicate work, but my heart was pounding like I had climbed a mountain. The framed photo on the wall caught my eye as sunlight began streaming through the window. Melody, at 9 years old, missing her front teeth, sitting on my shoulders at the county fair. That was taken just 2 months after Diane left us. I remember Melody wondering that day if Mommy left because she didn't think she was a good enough daughter. I told her that sometimes adults have problems that have nothing to do with their children, that her mother's leaving was about Diane's own struggles, not about Melody's worth. She nodded like she understood, but I saw the doubt in her eyes that took years to disappear. "You are going to wear a hole in that jacket if you keep trying it on," my father, Chester, said from outside the room. At 72, he still moved with the confidence of a man who'd worked his whole life with his hands. First as a carpenter, then helping me build my veterinary practice. He'd moved in with us 5 years ago after Mom passed from cancer, and he'd become Melody's 3rd parent, the grandfather who never missed a school play or basketball game. "Just want everything to be perfect, Dad," I said, hanging up the jacket carefully. A man's daughter doesn't get married every day. Chester walked over and straightened my collar with practiced hands. Your mother would be so proud today. She always said Melody had your spirit but her wisdom. I wish Mom could see her in that dress, I admitted, mentioning that she helped Melody pick it out last year right before she got too sick to leave the house. Me sister Ruby burst through the door without knocking, already dressed in her lavender bridesmaid dress. At 45 she still had bursts of energy like when she was younger, probably from chasing after her own 3 teenagers. Nathan, you need to eat something. I brought breakfast sandwiches from Murphy's Diner. Melody specifically requested their hash browns for the bridal party, so I grabbed extra. I am too nervous to eat, I said, but took the sandwich anyway. Murphy's had been Melody's favorite since she was little. Every Saturday morning after her soccer games, we'd go there for pancakes and hash browns. She'd tell me about her week at school, her friends, her dreams of becoming a pediatric nurse. Those breakfast conversations were where I got to know my daughter. Remember when she was 16 and tried to make her own wedding dress out of toilet paper and Mom's old curtains? Ruby laughed, settling on the edge of my bed. She made you walk her down the hallway while she hummed the wedding march, I added, smiling at the memory. She made Chester be the groom, I said. She said she wanted to practice with someone who wouldn't step on her feet. Chester chuckled. I was honored to help, though I did point out that at her real wedding, the groom probably shouldn't be old enough to be her grandfather. Blake Morrison, the actual groom, was a good kid. 25 years old, worked as an electrical engineer at the power company 2 towns over. He'd asked for my permission to propose last year, showing up at my door in his Sunday best, sweating through his shirt despite the December cold. He loved Melody the way she deserved to be loved, with respect and patience and genuine admiration. I'd watched him look at her the way I used to look at Diane before everything fell apart. Blake's family arrived last night, Ruby informed me. His mother cornered me at the rehearsal dinner to say how lucky Blake is to be joining our family. She said she has never seen him as happy as he is with Melody. The rehearsal dinner went well, held at the Riverside Inn, where Diane and I had our own reception 25 years ago. Melody looked great, laughing with her bridesmaids, dancing with Blake, making sure every guest felt included. She'd pulled me aside during dessert to thank me for everything, for being both parents, for never making her feel like she was missing out because her mother wasn't there. You gave me everything I needed, Dad, she'd said, her eyes shining with tears. Because of you, I know what real love looks like. Now, standing in my childhood bedroom in the house where I'd raised her, I felt the weight of those 15 years settling on my shoulders like a soft marshmallow. Every sacrifice had been worth it to see her this happy. At 7 o'clock, Ruby knocked on my door again. Nathan, Melody's asking for you. Says she needs to talk before the ceremony. She is in the bridal suite. The walk to the church took 10 minutes, but I stopped at Franklin's flower shop on Main Street to pick up a small bouquet of white daisies. Melody's favorite flowers since she was 5. She used to pick them from our backyard and present them to me like precious treasures. The church looked magnificent in the morning light, its white steeple reaching toward a perfectly clear sky. The parking lot was already filling with guests, and I recognized half the town had turned out for my daughter's big day. I found Melody in the bridal suite, surrounded by her 4 bridesmaids, who quickly excused themselves when they saw me. She stood in front of the full-length mirror, wearing the dress she'd chosen with my mother, an elegant align with delicate lace sleeves, but her reflection showed red-rimmed eyes and hands that wouldn't stop fidgeting with her pearl necklace, the one I'd given her for her 21st birthday. Princess, what is wrong? I asked, setting down the daisies on the vanity. Getting cold feet? Because if Blake's not treating you right, I've got a shotgun in the truck, and Chester knows where to hide a body. She didn't laugh at our old joke. Instead, she turned to face me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. It looked like guilt mixed with determination, the same expression she'd had at 13 when she told me she'd crashed my truck into the mailbox, but had already arranged to pay for repairs with her babysitting money. "Dad, I need to tell you something." Her voice cracked on the last word. "Mom and Kenneth are here." My chest tightened, but I kept my voice steady. "Okay, we thought she might come." "That is fine, sweetheart. Today is your day. If having your mother here makes you happy, then I am happy." "No, Dad, you don't understand." Melody took a shaky breath, her hands clenching the fabric of her dress. "I asked Kenneth to walk me down the aisle." The word stabbed my chest like a knife. The room seemed to tilt, and I had to grab the back of a chair to steady myself. "What, Melody? I don't understand." "We've been planning this for months. We practiced our dance last week. He is my real father figure now." The words exploded from her with unexpected venom. "He has been there for me these past 3 years. He paid for this entire wedding, the flowers, the venue, the catering, even my dress. He got me my job at his company's medical division. He is the one who is actually supporting my future." "Supporting your future?" My voice rose despite my efforts to control it. "Melody, I raised you. I was there every single day when your mother abandoned us. I taught you to ride a bike. I stayed up all night when you had pneumonia. I drove you to every dance class, every soccer practice. I was the one who held you when Bobby Chen broke your heart junior year. I helped you with every college application, moved you into your dorm room. Maybe she left because you were suffocating." Melody's eyes blazed with an anger that seemed foreign on her face. "Kenneth doesn't hover. He doesn't guilt-trip me about every decision. He doesn't need to know where I am every second of the day. He treats me like an adult, not like a fragile little girl who can't take care of herself." Each word continued to tear me open. I thought about all the times I checked in on her. Not from control, but from love. From the fear that something might happen to the one person who mattered most in my world. My father, Chester, appeared in the doorway, having heard the raised voices. His face was flushed, and he was breathing hard from running up the stairs. "What in heaven's name is going on here?" "Grandpa, please take Dad home," Melody said coldly, not even looking at Chester, keeping her hard gaze fixed on me. "Kenneth is walking me down the aisle. That is final. I don't want any drama. This is my wedding, and I get to decide how it happens." Ruby grabbed my arm as she rushed in behind Chester. "Nathan, don't make a scene." "Not today. Think about what people will say." I looked at my daughter, the stranger wearing Melody's face, speaking with Melody's voice, but saying words that Melody would never say. The little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, who made me Father's Day cards every year, even through college, who called me her hero at her high school graduation speech, was now looking at me like I was a burden to be managed. "If that is what you want," I said, my voice hollow and meaningless, "I hope Kenneth does a better job in 2 hours than I did in 15 years. I didn't stay for the ceremony." Chester drove me home in his old Ford car, the one with the rattling dashboard and seats worn smooth from decades of use. Neither of us spoke for the first 10 minutes. The roads were empty. Everyone already at the church to witness my daughter choose another man to fill my place. Ruby had stayed behind to support Melody for the family, she'd said, though her eyes told me she thought I should have fought harder. "That girl's making a mistake, son," Chester finally said as we passed the water tower that marked the halfway point to my house. "She'll realize it when it is too late." "Will she, Dad?" I stared out the window at the familiar scenery rushing past. Maybe I was too protective. Maybe I put too much pressure on her after Diane left. I just didn't want to lose her, too. "You didn't do anything wrong," Chester said firmly, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. "You loved that girl with everything you had. Kenneth Rutherford swooping in with his money doesn't erase 15 years of you being there every single day." We pulled into my driveway at 9:15. The house looked odd. That is when I saw it. A package on my doorstep. No shipping label, no return address, just my name written in Melody's distinctive handwriting. She'd always made her Uri's with an extra flourish, something she'd picked up in 3rd grade and never stopped doing. Chester frowned as he parked the car. Want me to stay? We could watch the game, have a few beers, pretend this morning never happened. No, Dad. I decided to be alone for a while. He squeezed my shoulder before driving away, and I stood there holding the package for a full minute before going inside. The house felt too quiet. I poured myself 3 fingers of scotch, the good stuff I'd been saving for Melody's wedding toast, and sat down at the kitchen table. The package felt worse than it should, as I opened it with my pocket knife. Inside was Melody's childhood diary, the pink one with the little lock and tiny key that I'd given her for her 10th birthday. She'd picked it out herself at Carson's bookstore downtown, running her fingers over the embossed butterflies on the cover. A note was taped to the front, written on the same lavender stationery she'd used for her wedding invitations. Dad, read page 47 before you judge me. Then read the last entry. I am sorry it had to be this way, love. My hand shook as I found the tiny key still taped inside the front cover and opened the lock. The diary fell open easily to page 47, marked with a purple ribbon. The date was 3 years ago, right when Diane had first reconnected with Melody. The 15th of March. Mom came to see me today, with her new husband, Kenneth. She was crying, begging for forgiveness. She told me something that changes everything. She said she left because Dad threatened to destroy her career if she tried to take me. She showed me old emails where Dad's lawyer promised to prove she was an unfit mother because of her depression. Kenneth says Dad manipulated the whole situation to keep me from her. He showed me documents, legal papers with Dad's signature. I don't know what to believe anymore. The father I love would never do this, but the evidence is right there in black and white. I nearly threw the diary. This was completely fabricated. I'd begged Diane to stay, offered counseling, offered to move anywhere she wanted. I'd never hired a lawyer until she'd already been gone for 6 months, and I needed to formalize custody. She'd voluntarily not wanted her parental rights. I'd even offered her visitation, which she'd declined. I flipped through more pages, my heart breaking with each entry. Diane and Kenneth had been systematically poisoning my daughter against me. There were fabrications about me hiding money from Melody's college fund, about me threatening Diane's parents to keep them away, about me sabotaging Diane's attempts to reconnect earlier. Each lie was wrapped in just enough twisted truth to sound plausible. Kenneth's name appeared over and over, taking her to fancy restaurants in Kansas City, teaching her to drive his Mercedes, promising her a position in his company, offering to pay for a lavish wedding. Every entry showed him stepping into roles I'd already filled, but with more money and flash. Then I reached the last entry, dated yesterday, the night before the wedding. The handwriting was different, more urgent, like she'd been racing against time to get the words down. Friday, May 14th. Wedding Eve. Dad will read this after tomorrow, and I need him to know the truth. Every word I am about to write is real, not like the lies that fill the earlier pages of this diary. I know Mom lied about everything. 2 months ago, I found the real divorce papers in Kenneth's home office when I was looking for printer paper. The truth was right there in the original custody documents. Mom abandoned us. She signed away her rights without a fight. There were no threats from Dad, no lawyers attacking her character. No manipulation, just a woman who chose to leave her 8-year-old daughter and never looked back until she found a rich husband who made her feel like she could play family again. But here is what Dad doesn't know. What I've been carrying alone for the past year. Kenneth has been threatening me. Last year, I went to a bachelorette party for my friend Jessica in Kansas City. Someone put something in my drink. I woke up in a hotel room with no memory of how I got there. Kenneth was there with his business partner, and they had photos, horrible, compromising photos of me that I don't even remember being taken. Photos that would destroy everything if they got out. Kenneth showed them to me 3 months before my wedding. He said, if I didn't play along with this charade, if I didn't publicly choose him over Dad, if I didn't let him walk me down the aisle, he would send those photos to Blake's family the morning of the wedding. Blake's father is a minister. His mother runs a Christian counseling center. They would never let their son marry me if they saw those pictures. My nursing career would be over before it started. Every job application, every background check, those photos would surface. But it gets worse. Dad Kenneth wants to crush you because you have everything that he doesn't. You are a real father who earned his daughter's love through sacrifice and presence, not through money and manipulation. This whole wedding, making you watch another man walk me down the aisle, is his twisted victory lap. He actually told me that breaking your heart would be the highlight of his year. Here is what Kenneth doesn't know. I've been playing a longer game. 3 weeks ago, I hired a private investigator with the money from Grandma's inheritance that you helped me invest. The investigator found something beautiful. The hotel security footage from that night showing Kenneth and his partner carrying me unconscious into that room. The real crime wasn't what is in those photos. It is what they did to create them. My friend Marcus, who works in cybersecurity, has been helping me too. Right after the ceremony, while Kenneth is playing proud father at the reception, Marcus will be wiping Kenneth's devices remotely. Every photo, every backup, every cloud storage account will be destroyed. The investigator already confirmed Kenneth only has digital copies. Too arrogant to think he'd need physical backups. But I needed Kenneth to believe he'd won. I needed him confident and off guard. That meant I had to break your heart today, Dad. I had to look you in the eyes and say things that would make you believe I'd chosen him over you. Every word was a wound I inflicted on myself. But I knew you were strong enough to survive this pain. You survived Mom leaving. You survived Grandma's death. You could survive your daughter's cruelty for one day. Tomorrow at the reception, after Kenneth's leverage is destroyed, I am going to expose everything. Marcus helped me set up a presentation that will play during the father-daughter dance, showing the evidence we've gathered, the security footage, the threatening texts Kenneth sent me, recordings I made of him describing his plan to humiliate you. Our entire town will see who Kenneth Rutherford really is. Blake knows everything. He has been my rock through this nightmare. He wanted to confront Kenneth himself, but I begged him to let me handle it my way. He loves you more than his own father, Dad. It is killing him to watch this happen, but he trusts me. You were never suffocating. You were loving. You were never controlling. You were protecting. Every boundary you set, every time you checked in, it came from love, not possession. You didn't raise a daughter who forgot 15 years of sacrifice. You raised a daughter who learned from the best how to protect the people she loves, even when it costs everything. By the time you read this, it will almost be over. Check your phone at exactly 8 p.m., Ruby. We'll send you something you need to see. I love you forever. Your Princess Melody Peace. There is one more thing, Dad. I am pregnant. We haven't told anyone yet because we wanted to wait until after the wedding. It is a boy. Blake and I already picked the name, Nathan Chester Morrison. He is going to grow up knowing exactly what kind of man his grandfather is. The real one, the one who taught me that love means sacrifice. My phone buzzed at exactly 8 p.m. My hands were still shaking from reading the diary when Ruby's name appeared on the screen with a video message. I clicked play and saw chaos erupting in the reception hall. The camera was steady, but I could see Melody standing at the microphone in her wedding dress, her voice calm and strong as she addressed the crowd of 200 guests. Behind her, the large projection screen meant for displaying wedding photos was showing something else entirely. Screenshots of text messages filled the screen. Kenneth's number clearly visible at the top. "You'll do what I say or everyone sees those photos," read one message. Your precious daddy can't save you from this, read another. Then the security footage began playing. It was unmistakable. Kenneth and another man carrying an unconscious young woman into a hotel room. The timestamp showed 2:47 a.m. The young woman was clearly Melody. Limp in their arms, the crowd gasped collectively. Some people standing up from their seats, others covering their mouths in shock. This man, Melody announced, her voice carrying over the stunned silence, tried to blackmail me into betraying my father. He wanted to break the heart of the man who raised me alone for 15 years, who never missed a single moment of my life, who taught me what real love looks like. The video showed Kenneth lunging toward the microphone, his face purple with rage, but Blake and his groomsmen formed a wall between him and Melody. Diane sat frozen at the head table, her face white as paper, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Kenneth Rutherford is a predator who thought he could buy my love and steal my father's place. Melody continued. He failed because my real father, Nathan Bridgewater, taught me that love isn't about money or power or manipulation. It is about showing up every single day, even when it is hard, especially when it is thankless. Police officers entered the frame, moving purposefully through the crowd. Melody had filed the blackmail report that morning. Ruby's text explained. Right after she'd said those horrible things to me, as they placed Kenneth in handcuffs, he started shouting about his lawyers, his connections, how he'd destroy everyone. The crowd just stared in disgust. Melody looked directly at the camera, tears streaming down her face. Dad, if you are watching this, please come back. This reception doesn't mean anything without you. You've walked beside me every step of my life. It is only right you are here for this one. I love you, Daddy. I am so sorry for what I had to do. Chester was already grabbing his car keys before the video ended. Come on, son. Your daughter needs you. We drove back to the church in silence, but it was a different silence than before. This one was filled with understanding, with pride, with a love so fierce it made my chest ache. My daughter had carried this burden alone to protect me. She'd let me think she'd betrayed me rather than risk Kenneth destroying her future. 20 minutes later, I walked into that reception hall. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Melody saw me from across the room and ran to me in her wedding dress, not caring about the train dragging behind her or the tears ruining her makeup. I am so sorry, Dad. I am so sorry for what I said. I didn't mean any of it. I pulled her into my arms, holding her the way I had when she was little, and the world felt huge. You've protected me, I whispered into her hair. Just like I've always protected you. That is what family does. The baby, Dad, I wanted to tell you first, but with everything happening, I couldn't risk Kenneth using that too. Nathan Jr., I said, laughing through my tears. Poor kid's going to have a lot to live up to. Blake approached us, his hand extended. Mr. Bridgewater, Melody and I practiced a father-daughter dance for today. The DJ has the song ready whenever you are. As the opening notes of I Loved Her First by Heartland began playing, Melody took my hand and we moved to the center of the dance floor. The same song I'd sung to her as a lullaby, the one we danced to in our kitchen when she was 5. I kept one page from the diary, she whispered as we swayed. The one where I wrote that you are not just my father, you are my hero. That has never been a lie, not for a single second. The story made headlines across Missouri. Kenneth faced federal charges for blackmail and assault. He lost his real estate chains in the legal battles that followed. Diane disappeared again, this time leaving only a note apologizing for the lies she'd told. But none of that mattered to me. 6 months later, when Nathan Jr. was born on a snowy December morning, Melody handed him to me first. Meet your grandpa, little one. You are going to love him. He is the strongest man I know. That is what I learned from this whole experience. Being a parent means sometimes your love gets tested in ways you never imagined. Sometimes it means letting your heart shatter into countless pieces because your child needs you to be strong enough to break. Melody knew I could survive her rejection because she'd seen me survive everything else life threw at us. She trusted in the foundation we'd built together. Brick by brick, over 15 years of bedtime stories, morning pancakes, dance recitals, and driving lessons. Real love doesn't need to walk down an aisle to prove itself. It proves itself in the quiet moments, the daily sacrifices, the showing up when showing up is all you have to offer. Kenneth thought he could buy in 3 years what I'd built in 15. He thought money could replace memories, that gifts could erase presents. He was wrong. My daughter didn't choose me in spite of how I raised her. She chose me because of it. And that unmarked package on my doorstep, it wasn't just a diary. It was a love letter from a daughter to her father, written in the language only we could understand, forged through years of inside jokes, shared tears, and unshakable trust. That trust saved us both. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Every family has its struggles, but love, real love, always finds a way through. Leave a comment below about a time when someone you loved protected you in ways you didn't realize until later. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us what really matters in life. Thank you for being here. And remember, the strongest bonds aren't the ones that never get tested. They're the ones that survive the test.